What's up, wacky fellas? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy LouieBeanTV sliding into your screen like a perfectly timed iframe dodge. Today we're diving into Wuchang Fallen Feathers, but before I get into the slicing, dicing, and trauma-inducing boss fights, let me be clear with a couple things. So first off, yeah, there's been some controversy surrounding how the game uses Chinese historical figures. I've seen comments, I've heard the noise, and just so we're clear, I'm not a Chinese historical professor, historian, librarian, archivist, or even keeper of ancient scrolls. I'm just here to talk about the gameplay, the story, and the mechanics, the stuff that you and I actually experience when we boot the game up. So we're keeping the focus right there. Now for the real ones who know me, y'all know I'm a massive Soulslike enjoyer, a connoisseur of pain, a collector of L's turning to W's. So when I first found out about Wuchang, you bet I was excited to try it out. I remember seeing those mixed Steam reviews back in August, and now the game's sitting at mostly positive. But listen, this review ain't sponsored, it ain't influenced, and it ain't dipped in anybody's opinions. This is pure Louie, straight from the controller to the brain to the microphone. And for the tech heads out there wondering why the footage looks crispier than a fresh batch of chicharrones, I'm running a 7900 XTX and a 7800 X3D. What really pulled me into this game was the vibe. The creeping horror vibes, the mysterious world building, and the sense of something Asian is watching you, but also low-key judging your dodging skills. But while the story and atmosphere got me in the door, the raw gameplay is what glued me into the chair for hours. You ever get cooked by a boss so many times that beating it felt like it got personal? Wuchang does that. So buckle up, fellas. This is my wacky, chaotic, honest breakdown of Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Let's get into it, and remember to like and subscribe. Okay, so what is Wuchang Fallen Feathers? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Here we go again, another Soulslike. Trust me, I feel you. We've been getting Soulslike tossed at us like free samples at Costco. Soulslike fatigue is real. And I'm gonna be honest here. This game doesn't reinvent the wheel, doesn't reinvent the bonfire, doesn't suddenly give you grappling hooks made of pure innovation. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And your boy still enjoys this formula, man. So with benediction stones, madness mechanics, and the upgrade paths and all that, it does add enough spice to keep things feeling fresh. It doesn't feel stale, and it's not soulless. It's more like a, oh word, another Soulslike, pass it over here. The game takes place in the fictional late Ming Dynasty China, where everyone's dealing with a bird-themed plague. It's not bird flu, it's bird zombie fever. People mutate, sprout feathers, go feral. You got whole neighborhoods turning into poultry-themed nightmares. So after you wake up and talk to the NPCs in the beginning, it's your job to put the pieces together, figure out what's going on, and find out why everyone is turning into nightmare Angry Birds. Alright, let's talk about the story. And don't worry, I'm keeping this completely spoiler-free. I'm staying surface level, baby. No lore dumps and no dissertations. And no...
Actually, if you read item description number 47...
None of that. So Wuchang does have some twists. And who doesn't love a twist? A good twist is like finding extra fries at the bottom of the bag. Unexpected, but delicious. The story leans heavily into classic Soulslike themes we all know and emotionally suffer through. Death, suffering, hopelessness, corruption, ascension into higher beings. You know, the stuff that makes your inner emo happy. And I have to give a shout out to my boy, Nian Suishang. Absolute legend, total bro energy, certified homie. One of those NPCs where you're like, he's one of the guys that you have to protect at all costs. As for the overall vibe, Wuchang definitely hits that atmospheric, mysterious feeling. It gives you a tone where you feel like something is horribly wrong. It's grim, it's tragic, and it's eerie, and it fits perfectly with the whole bird plague, corrupted human theme. It's the kind of world that makes you want to explore just a little further, even though around every corner there's something that just wants to kill you. All in all, the story is interesting enough to keep you curious without holding your hand. Very Soulslike, very moody, and very emo approved. Let's talk about the world, and I could say it feels pretty big.
That's what she said!
Now listen, this game is not open world and it's not pertaining to be open world, and thank God for that. Because what it does instead, it's absolutely my favorite style. And by that I mean it gives you linear paths with branching routes, shortcuts with hidden tunnels, diverging paths, things that suddenly drop you somewhere completely different. And no offense to Elden Ring, but I personally love this tighter, focused, Souls-like style. Wuchang gives you a really good variety of places to get lost in, like deep underground caves, forests full of ambushes, giant Chinese temples that feel haunted, icy mountain regions, war-torn military camps, burnt to ash villages. It feels like taking a cursed tour of historical China. Now, if you know me, you know this. I walk through everything. I would go through every corner, every crevice, every suspicious passway, anything that looks like it would hide a single loot item. What I'm saying is, I don't like to miss anything. I'm basically an unpaid digital janitor sweeping the entire game world item by item. But when I got towards the middle of the game, I felt like I got everything I wanted from benediction stones and pendants. So what I would really hope for was Red Mercury, which is this game's versions of souls, blood echoes, and runes. It's that sweet level up juice. Exploration overall feels rewarding, atmospheric, and just mysterious enough to keep you pushing forward, even when you know a bird mutant is probably waiting around the corner ready to give you a surprise chiropractic adjustment. And trust me, I got jump scared a couple times by them. Let me talk about the performance, because if a Soulslike stutters during a dodge, that is emotional damage waiting to happen. Here, I know it's going to be different for everyone, but I'm just going to go off of what I experienced with the game. So how did Wuchang run for me? It was smooth, like an horchata. And I'm talking the entire time, not a single dip, other than cheese dip. But that's how stable the game was on my PC. Sorry for referencing food so much. Now bugs, I did run into a couple tiny ones, but nothing rage quit worthy, or nothing controller breaking, nothing that made me question my life choices. More like a, weird type of moment and you just keep moving on. So I'm talking about a weird keyboard quirk. Like sometimes after talking to the NPC, I tried to walk away too fast with a diagonal input using WASD on the keyboard, but instead of moving me diagonally, it would move me in one direction. But as soon as the black cinematic bars faded, everything would go back to normal. So in my book, it wasn't anything too terrible. So while playing the game casually and off camera, I ran it at full screen, 3440, 1440p, with zero issues. The engine seemed like it loved my ultra wide monitor and gave me no problems. For recording, I did play at a lowered resolution and it's what you're seeing on screen right now. Now, graphics wise, I did crank it all the way up to extreme with motion blur off because who actually uses that? I also logged the game to 60 FPS. Now, visually, does this game break boundaries, melt GPUs, or redefine the future of graphics? No. But does it look good? Yeah, absolutely. The vistas, atmosphere, the environments do the heavy lifting, and that stuff impresses me more than raw texture detail. Wuchang knows how to set a mood. As for controls, I actually started the game entirely on controller for the whole first area. Then I got curious and switched to keyboard and mouse, especially for the Commander Hong Lan boss fight, and bro, keyboard and mouse felt pretty good. It was responsive, sharp, precise, and no noticeable input delay. I ended up sticking with keyboard and mouse for the rest of the game because honestly it felt pretty good. Alright, let me talk about combat, because this can be hit or miss for a Soulslike. So, weapons. I'm not gonna lie, I stuck with one weapon for pretty much the entire game. Your boy stayed loyal to the longsword till death do us part. And yeah, I tried the axe one time during a boss meltdown, don't judge me. But other than that, longsword all the way. And the reason here is simple. Pairing with the longsword feels awesome. The animation is quick, it feels snappy, and even if your timing is off, you can usually dodge right after because there's barely any startup. I'm not saying you should spam it, but like, if someone did spam it, I could totally see why. But let's get into the real star here, Commander Hong Lan. Hong Lan was my first big hurdle. So much so, and I'm ashamed to admit this, that she actually made me rage quit for an entire week. 7 days of crying myself to sleep. But when I finally returned, that's when the magic clicked. I added pairing to my longsword gameplay, and suddenly I actually had a chance. A tiny chance and a fragile chance, but I had a chance. After what felt like 50 deaths, miles of running back to the fog gate because this was before the update that lets you respawn right outside of the boss room, and hours of trying to read her moves, I finally took her down. Defeating Hong Lan felt like unlocking a second game, because right after Hill Squatch opens up, to me, that's where the game really begins. Now let me keep it real here for a moment. Not everything in this game is parryable, and Hong Lan herself is the perfect example. Like your sword attacks, you can parry those. But then she'll switch it up and just start throwing absolute hands.
He needs
Now those, they can't be parried. You just gotta hold that L, dodge, pray, and hope she doesn't suddenly invent a new move on the spot. But overall, combat is fun. It's responsive, it's punchy, it's satisfying, and once you get into the groove, especially if you're a parry enjoyer, it feels pretty good. Now, I'll go a bit into how the game works. Skyborn Might, the premium bird juice. Skyborn Might is basically your currency for doing anything fancy in this game. Magic, it uses it. Weapon skills, uses it. Special moves, yep. Everything except your basic light and heavy attacks requires this stuff. And even then, sometimes your heavy attack would use it. You store Skyborn Might in your feathered arm, but it only lasts a limited amount of time. You start with 0, but unlock and expand it through the Impetus Repository skill tree. When it's fully leveled, you get 5 stacks max. You primarily earn Skyborn Might through dodging, but you can unlock more ways of earning it, like in the Longsword level up tree, you can earn more just by attacking. Magic and Feathering. Bloodborne Bullets but Chinese Bird Edition. Magic in this game works kinda like Bloodborne. You spend a resource, Skyborn Might, to cast spells. The stronger the spell, the more Skyborn Might it chews through. Personally, I wasn't out here casting Kamehamehas or anything. I kept it simple, with defensive spells, especially in boss fights. My favorite spells were Divine Ward, which reduces incoming damage, Zero Form, which automatically dodges for you, and Divine Blessing, which would put a healing circle on the ground that would heal you. These made some boss fights a lot more manageable, especially when the boss decided to MMA your face. Next, I'll talk about Benediction Stones, Consumables, and Pendants. Now, as you explore, you'll find Benediction Stones, items, pendants, all the RPG seasoning. And all of these items could give you bonuses like more slash damage, more blunt damage, bigger stamina bar, faster stamina regen, and elemental boosts. But of course, a lot of them would come with a downside, like more stamina, you might lose damage potential. More damage, you might take more damage. So basically, read the fine print or get cooked. Discipline skills and weapon skills, the flare moves. At shrines, you can swap out different discipline skills and weapon skills. These also use Skyborn Might. This is where you could get fancy. Kicks, parries, spinning slashes, big enemy axe jumps, stylish moves that make you feel like the main character. I personally didn't go wild here because I was having too much fun with the sword basics, but for players who love customization, this system is nice. Sound and music. Let's talk about the audio experience in Wuchang, because this part is kinda mixed but also kinda funny. So each major area in the game gets its own background music, and each zone has its own theme. With there being only 4 zones, it kinda feels a bit repetitive after a few hours. But I will give credit where credit is due. Some zones get really atmospheric, like the underground cave. That place sounded kinda creepy in the best way. But also, who was in charge of that ghost sound effect? Bro, tell me why I thought I was about to see Scooby and Shaggy run past me with a sandwich. I don't know, just that sound gives the underground cave like a cartoony vibe. Now when it comes to boss fight music though, boss themes can go pretty hard. Especially Perfect Bride. Tell me why her boss music turned into straight up anime fight music. Now that's good stuff. Voice acting. To me, the voice acting was pretty solid. There's nothing really to complain about. And for those of you wondering, I did play the game in full English. I do have to say, there were a few moments where it low-key sounded like Kung Pao Enter the Fist dubbing.
Fiend attacked Worship's Rise 6 moons ago.
But overall, the boss music was good, and everything else could have used a little more seasoning. Not bad, just left me wanting a bit more. Alright fellas, let's wrap this up. So after everything, the bird plague, the emo lore, the MMA boss fights, the Scooby-Doo ghost noises, here's my final verdict. For performance, I give it a 10 out of 10 beans. This game ran smoother than fresh horchata. 0 complaints. For gameplay, I give it a 7.5 out of 10 beans. It wasn't groundbreaking, and it wasn't wild or reinventing the genre. But it was solid, and it had a satisfying gameplay loop that kept me hooked all the way through. For story, I give it a 7 out of 10 beans. It felt mysterious, weird, A little bit twisty, it's exactly what you expect from a Soulslike. To me, it was enough to keep your curiosity alive without overwhelming you. For the graphics in the world, 8 out of 10 beans. Graphics are fine, but the visuals and atmosphere absolutely carry the experience. For sound and music, 6 out of 10 beans. The boss themes are good, but the rest could have used more love. Which gives my official LouieBeanTV score 7 out of 10 wacky beans. Making this game a
certified LouieBeanTV banger.
So is it worth playing? Hell yeah. I put 80 hours into this game and I think most people could easily get 40 hours of real fun out of it. To me, it's worth the asking price, especially if you're a Souls-like fan or someone who loves a more linear focused game like this. Before I end this video, let me get a little real with y'all. Playing these games, pushing through frustration, figuring out a boss, getting better little by little, it reminds me of why I love gaming in the first place. It's not just about swinging swords or leveling up, it's about the journey, the challenge, the moments you want to rage quit, and the feeling of pride when you finally overcome something you thought was impossible. So shout out to all of you who stuck around to watch this review. Shout out to the developers for making a game that gave me some real memories. And shout out to you for supporting me and hanging out with me on this adventure. This has been my wacky, heartfelt review of Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I'll see you in the next one, fellas. Stay safe and stay wacky.